Hilchos Mem on the base of the Mishnah, the 6th wide line. Says the Mishnah, Akol Dovar ve'al Dovar she'ein gedulim min haaretz. What bracha do you eat something that doesn't grow on the ground? What bracha do you make? Kegain, like, sorry. What do you say? What do you say? Shakol niya bidvarai. He made everything with his words. Shakol, everything niya bidvarai is made with his words. Ala chometz, for vinegar, for a knowlege, for a goivai. We're going to see what these are. Shakol niya bidvarai. What bracha do you make on vinegar and knowlege and goivai? Goivai is, Rashi says, chagovim, grasshoppers, kosher grasshoppers, and knowlege, fruit that's fallen, some type of fruit, we'll see. So what bracha do you make on these things? You say, shakol niya bidvarai. Reb Chaim ein min klala, anything that's a type of klala that is cursed, anything that's cursed, ein mevarchen alav. You don't make a bracha on. Therefore, what? So he's arguing on the previous statement. Therefore, wine, chometz, vinegar. We're talking about wine vinegar. It was wine. It was a good wine, and now it's soured up. Okay, vinegar. It's ruined. It's no longer as good as it was. It was good wine. Now it's vinegar. So you don't make a bracha on it according to him, because there's a klala. Knowlege, these fruit that fell from the tree. We're going to see what they are exactly in the gemorah. You don't make a bracha on it. Like goivai. Squeak. So you don't make a bracha on it. You only thank Hashem. So what does the Tanna Kama hold? Why should you make a bracha on it? You're eating it, you enjoy it, so make a bracha, thank Hashem. So that's the machlokes. Do you have to make a bracha because you're thanking Hashem? Or you make a bracha on the fact that this crop is blessed? So says the gemorah, says the Mishnah, but what do? You're sitting on the table, you got a shmug, you got all sorts of things to eat. What bracha do you make? Yehuda says, Yesh beinehem min shiva, olav u'muvarach. You got a whole bunch of stuff on the table. If one of these things is shivas aminim, the 7 things that the Eretz Yisrael was praised with, as chitasai geventen arimon, the shem and the dvash, you make a bracha on that. You can make a bracha on whatever you want. You can eat whatever you want. First, you don't have to start with shivas aminim. And Rashi explains, Ezim Shiyitz, it doesn't mean it's irrelevant. Pick what you want. It means the one that you want most. The one that's chovev to you. The thing you want to eat the most, that you should make a bracha on. That's what Ezim Shiyitz means. It doesn't mean it's a hefkevel. Do whatever you want. What it means is, do the thing you like. Do the thing that's most chovev. Says the gemorah, Toner Rabbanon, Al dovar she'ein gedulim min haaretz, something that doesn't grow in the ground. Kegain, what doesn't grow in the ground? Everything grows in the ground. Kegain, basar, behemais, chayis, vayfais, the meat of animal, of chayis, wild animals, vayfais, birds. Which wild animals do we eat? We eat deer. Deer is considered a chaya. I think so. I think it's chaya. It's tzvi. I think tzvi is considered a chaya. V'oifais and birds, v'dogim and fish. Oime shakol niya bidvarai. You say the bracha, shakol niya bidvarai. In other words, you're asking a question. What happens if a person's starving, hungry, he's about to die, and he's got nothing to eat? There's no kosher food. He's on his deathbed. He's in danger. He's got to eat a piece of lion, piece of pig. Does he make a bracha on it? Maybe according to this, you say shakol, chaya. No, I think the person say you don't make a shakol on it. It's not a bracha. It's a klala to say a bracha on such a thing. You shouldn't be eating it. So says the gemorah. So you say shakol nibidwari on meat, fish, chicken, all that type of stuff. Ala chalav, ala beitzim, ala gvina, for milk, eggs, and cheese, aimer, shakol, same thing. Say shakol, ala pas, what bracha do you make on bread? Ipsha, not regular pas. Stale, dried out bread. Vala yayin shehikrim, wine that started to go bad, it started to get sour. Vala tavsha she'ava tzarasai, and you cooked some nice lentils or you cook something up, and now it's lost its tzura. It's started to become sour. What bracha do you make on it? You can't make a domer anymore. Now you say shakal. So this bread's going moldy, bread's going bad. You say shakal. You don't say amaitzi. It's lost its bracha. Now it's gone down. It's been what's the word? Derelated, whatever. It's no longer shakal. It's no longer hamaitzi. Now you say shakal. Ala melach, if you eat salt, vala zomis. We saw zomis is like pickled in salt. Val kmihin upitries, oimeshakol. Mushrooms and kmihin is truffles. The difference is the truffles, they grow in the ground, the pitris grows on the ground. On these things you say shakol. If you have mushrooms, you say shakol, because we're going to see in a second, the gemorah says, the meimra, the kmihin, pitris like the likakin, where you're telling me that mushrooms and truffles don't grow in the ground? Really? Vatanya, it says in the Brisa. I know the guy says, takes a vow, I'm not going to eat anything that grows in the ground. He can't eat potatoes, but he's allowed to eat mushrooms and truffles. So you see from here that you're allowed to eat it. It doesn't grow in the ground. If the guy says anything that grows in the ground is forbidden to me, he's not even allowed to eat mushrooms and truffles. In other words, there's a difference if he says Peiros haaretz, the fruit of the ground, or kol gedolei haaretz, anything that grows in the ground. So you see that the kamiya and the pitchers do grow in the ground. So why do you not make a bar piadoma on mushrooms? Abaye says, you know what's going on here? Mir v'robu ma'ara, min kolo yanki ma'ara. They grow on the ground, but they're not yonik from the ground. They don't absorb nutrients from the ground, or most of the nutrients is not from the ground. It's not from the soil. The mushrooms, they give off their own toxins and stuff that sheds into the ground, and that makes them grow. They're absorbing. It's not only from the nutrients of the ground. And the Mepharshim explain, you can take a look, you'll see mushrooms growing on stones and on trees and all sorts of places where it's not getting nutrients from the ground. So how's that working? They're getting nutrients from the air, from its own stuff that's being mafresh. So therefore, what bracha you make on mushrooms? Shakal. Happens to be a machlekes later paiskim. What happens if a guy says by accident, he didn't know this halacha, he says adama on mushrooms, and then someone says to him, he says bar pi adama, has a mushroom, and someone says to him, hey, you don't make adama on a mushroom, it's shakal. So is he yaitse or is he not yaitse? So some opinions are he's yaitse, but the evid with the bar pi adama, since it does grow on the ground, even though it's not yonik, it doesn't get the nutrients from the ground, but it grows on the ground. So but the evid yaitse, I'll just say no. Chazal said you say shakal, you're not yaitse. Case closed. Go say go make a shakal on something else. Machlekes a paiskim. Valanoivleis, I'm saying the paiskim from a couple hundred years ago. Valanoivleis, what's these noivleis? These things are for my noivleis. What are these noivleis? V'zeira v'biloi. So machlekes, these two greats. Chadama bushli chamra. Chadamri tamri dezika. Bushli chamra, or kumara, I don't know how you pronounce this. Bushli chamra is stuff that's basically is dried off in the trees. Chadamri tamri dezika. These are dates that have fallen off because of the wind. Take a look in Rashi. Bushli chamra. Kumay srufe chamra. It's been dried out from the sun. The sun dried it out. Shubishli misarfon. The sun dries it out, burns it. V'yavshu. What fruit are they? These are dates. So these are dates, dried dates. What do you call them in English? Dried dates. The sun dries them. It's not prunes, right? I don't know. Dried dates. And what's tamri the zika? Zika is the wind that knocks them off the tree before they're ripe. So on these two things, what does Mishnah say? You say shakal. Tanan Rabbi Yehuda min klala im vorchen alav. Rabbi Yehuda said, anything that's a curse, you don't make a bracha on. So Bishlam Madama Bushli Chamra, if you're going to tell me it's stuff that dried out from the sun, that it grew, it was a good date, but the sun dried it out. That's why it was cursed. It was a good date, and now it's ruined. According to the opinion that its dates didn't fully grow, but the strong hurricane came and knocked it down before it had a chance to go. Why is it a klala? Why is this considered a klala? So Gemara answers, you're right. It's not a klala ashaira. He's only arguing on the other cases. The other two cases, take a look in Rashi, achaymates v'guvai polig Rabbi Yehuda. According to this Gemara, according to that opinion, Rabbi Yehuda is arguing in with vinegar and grasshoppers. Igad Amri. According to the opinion, we're talking about bushli chamer, dry dates. That's why you say shakal. Al-mandam the zika that's fallen off the tree, shakal? By creates and by lay. Why did you say shakal? You should say by creates. Ella. B'noivlois stoma kolamalai pligi the bushli karmaninu. You know what? When the Mishnah talks about noivlois, kolamalai the bushli karma, we're talking about stuff that has dried out in the sun. There's two types of noivleis. There's noivleis and there's noivleis tamra. So our Mishnah talks about noivleis. It doesn't talk about noivleis dates of noivleis tamra. Regular noivleis, stuff that falls, there's no machlekes. The machlekes is only about dates that fall. This nan. What's the brisa? It says in the Mishnah, Hakalin shebedumai. There are certain things. What's dumai? Dumai is when you buy fruit from a Namaretz, and he doesn't necessarily know the halachas of Truma Maisa, or he's not makbid on them more likely. That's what the Gemara says. He doesn't know, he's not makbid. So some things are you'll have to be makel. And you can eat it. You go to a store and the guy doesn't have a hechsha, the guy's Amaretz. So certain things you don't have to worry about. What are they? Hashisin, harimin, ha'izim, b'nei shuach, b'nei shikma, v'nufim, v'nitzpa, v'noives tamra. The Gemara is going to explain what all these things are. I'm sure that you all know it, but the Gemara is going to spell it out for us. But the Gemara, what's interesting, it says here, noives tamra. It doesn't say noives, things that fall. Dates that have fallen. What's shisin? Shisin. Maintaining. It's a type of date. It's a type of fig, sorry. What is shisin? A type of fig. What type of fig? It doesn't say. Rimin, kinadi. It's a type of rimon, pomegranate. What type of pomegranate? I don't know there's different types, but it's a type of pomegranate. Ha'izrin, tulshi. Apparently tulshi means rambutan. It's a type of fruit that has like hairs that they change color and they fall out. B'nei shuach, Amarava Baba Charechan, te'eni chivisa, white figs. B'nei shikma, Amarava Baba Charechan, duvli. Duvli is grapes that grow in the winter, and then they're never gonna ripen because they grow in the winter. Sour grapes that grow in the winter, they're called duvli. And you can be making all these things. Gufnin, shili gufni. Shili gufni. 1 second. Sorry, shili gufni is anovim stavonios, grapes that grow in the stav. I think stav, it seems to mean, we think stav means like the spring, but they unfortunately say stav means the winter. Okay, so natzpa is parcha. Natzpa, as we spoke about this a few dapim ago, capers. V'noivlois tamra. The last thing, the whole mission, we brought this whole brisa for this din of noivlois tamra. Rabbi Lai, Rabbi Zera. There's a machlekes Rabbi Lai and Rabbi Zera. What are noivlois tamra? Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Chadama bushli chamra. It means dates that dried out. V'chadama tamra deziki. Dates that fell off the tree. If you're going to tell me it means chamra, that dried out, the potter, if you're going to tell me you're talking about stuff, dates that dried on the tree, that what? But with demai, it's a suffix. You don't have the guy took shumas and maisus. It's nothing. You could be makel. You can eat it. You don't have to take shumas and maisus. But the implication is, if you know the maisus wasn't taken, you saw the guy picking the dates, these dried out dates, and you saw he didn't take shumas and maisus, then you're chayav. Okay, that makes sense. According to the opinion that we're talking about dates that fell off the tree before they were ripe. They fell off, the wind came and blew them down. Vadon chayav. If you know for sure that the wind blew it down before it grew, it's going to be chayav. Hefker in you. These dates, these dates, are hefka. It's a free for all. So why are you chayav trumas and maisus in them? Anything that's hefka, you're not chayav to take maiser on. We're talking about a case where he had tons of these fig dates that fell off the tree, and he made a pile, made it into a kri, a pile, geiren. And then we're going to see that midrabanan he's chayav to take shumas and maisus once, even though it was hefka. Once he makes it into a pile in his field, midrabanan he's chayav shumas and maisus. These things you're not chayav shumas and maisus. If you made a pile out of yelek shechchampea, hukvu le maiser. Now you have to take maiser. Ikadamri. Someone is saying. Now we're on Mem Aleph and Mem Aleph. We're flying through Shas over here, top of the page. If you're going to tell me we're talking about the stuff that blew off from the wind, Stama. Tamra. If you're going to tell me we're talking about the stuff that flew from the wind, here it's called noivlis stam, and there it says noivlis tamra. That's why there's a difference in Lashon. Noivlis is which dries out. Noivlis tamra is when it falls from the wind. According to the opinion that we're talking about here, stuff that dried out, it's all the same thing. The noivlis tamra and noivlis is the same thing. So why in one mission is it called noivlis? Sorry, tamra, noivlis tamra. Use one lashon, either both tamra or they're both stama. Kasha. So that lashon doesn't make as much. Okay, I just wanted to take a quick look in Taisvis on the previous Amud. It's very important, Taisvis. It's something we touched on yesterday, but it's very, very relevant. So let's take a look. Amar Baye. What's the Rav Mistama? We're passing like Rav. If you remember the machlekes Rav and Rafuna was, what's more important, to say the Shem Hashem when you make a bracha, or the Melech HaOlam? What's the essence of the bracha? Again, is it the Hashem? If you don't say Shem Hashem, it's not a bracha, God's name. Or if you don't say that He's the King, it's not a bracha. Yesh Mefarshim is Stavra Kabraisa Kavasei. We're passing like Rav because the Braisa says like Rav. That what? The name of God's name is the most important part of the bracha. Umiyu Rav Alphas, the Rif Pasuk Rabbi Yechanan. The Rif Pasuk is like Rabbi Yechanan, you have to say Melech, He's the King. Any bracha that doesn't say that Hashem is the King, that's not a bracha. That's why the research if you forgot to say, you skipped the word King, Melech, you got to bench again. Now says even if you said that He's a king, but you didn't say He's Melech HaOlam, He's King of the world, you got to go bench again. The Melech Levad ain't a Malchus. Just to say He's a king, that's not Malchus. Malchus means He's the King of the world. Melech HaOlam. Just say Elokeinu Melech. The guy doesn't say HaOlam, says Taisus, you got to bench again. You got to say another bracha. Says Taisus, Birchus Shmein Esrei. Ein ben malchus. You'll notice when we daven Shemona Esrei, you say Baruch Hashem Elokeinu Elokei Aviseinu, Elokei Avram Elokei Yisrael. You don't say Melech Haolam. Ein ben malchus. Why did you say malchus there? It's big kasha. Either you could say because we're passing like Rav, not like Rabbi Yochanan, but according to this, he passing like Rabbi Yochanan. So why is it in malchus? Ein ben psicha. You know why? Ein bein bepsicha b'chsima. Ein shaykh malchus. Since there's no beginning of the bracha and end of the bracha, it's not relevant to say malchus. I'm not sure why. You say bracha Hashem Elokeinu ve'Elokei Aviseinu. That's the psicha. Why can't you say Elokeinu melech haolam and Elokei Avram Elokei? I'm not sure. Okay. Aval Elokei Avram kamay malchus. Saying he's the God of Abraham. That is malchus. The Avram Avinu himlech kosh baruch hakol olam shedia malchusay. Avram was the one that taught the entire humanity, the entire world only knows that God is the king because of Avram Avinu. When you say Elokei Avram, that is malchus. And what about on Shabbos, on Friday night, we say Ein Shevet D'Matzish B'Shabbos, Hay V'yesh B'Alakela Kodesh Ein Kamayu Haynu Kamay Malchus. Okay, that Ein Kamayu is also like malchus. Like we say on Rosh Hashanah, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, it's like malchus. Now, he says, okay, so important to know. You need malchus. Says Taisus, if you didn't say Olam, you got to bench again. The Rosh says it's still a suffix. You shouldn't make suffix brachas la'akla. You can't make another bracha. It seems to be a suffix. Either if you pass on Rav Yochanan, it's a suffix if you need the Olam. So suffix brachas la'akla, you can't make another bracha. Others want to say, interesting thing in Taisus, tell me what you think, that in Shemona Esrei, you're right, you don't say Melech Olam. But let's say you don't need the Olam. Taisus says you need the Olam. Where do you get it from? Taisus. You know, the Svara. But if you don't need the Olam, then when you daven Shemona Esrei, you say Melech Ozer Mashiach Magen. You do say Melech. So that's your Melech. You've got Shem Hashem, you've got Malchus in Shemona Esrei. Taisus has a whole problem. He said you need the Olam. So Melech Ozer Mashiach Magen is nothing called Taisus. You need Melech Olam. But other Rishonim say you don't need the Olam. You get with Melech. So in Shemona Esrei you say Melech Ozer Mashiach Magen. That's your Malchus. You have Shem and Malchus. Therefore, the Meiri says there's a different issue going on with Shemona Esrei. Why don't you need Shemona Esrei Melech Haolam? Because when do you need Melech Haolam? He's the king of the world. He's the king, I'm serving him. But you're davening to Hashem. You don't have, he's the king, I'm serving him. But you're davening to Hashem. You don't have to say Melech Haolam. Therefore, you'll see some brachas like Shabbos, like we say Elokai Neshama. You don't say Melech Haolam. Brachas Hashem Machzin Neshama Sefkar Mesim. You don't say Melech Haolam. There's a few brachas. It's prayer. You don't have to say Melech Haolam. And I think we're going to have to wrap it up here slightly early today. It's Rosh Chodesh. So have a wonderful day. If we start